All right, conversions. This is critical because we've got to be able to convert from one unit to the other. And it's going to be, we're going to be using these a lot when we get into applying this to explicit chemistry and reactions and so on. But I want to teach you conversions with units that you're somewhat familiar with first. It'll make it easier in the long run. So the first key thing about converting is that we need a conversion factor. And it is some way of relating one unit to another. And it always basically says how they're equal to each other. So 1 minute is 60 seconds. That's a conversion factor. You know, like if I tell you that something was 5 minutes long, you would know that that was 300 seconds because of this conversion factor. Foot is 12 inches, an inch is 2.54 centimeters, or a dollar is 0.75 pounds, okay, British pounds. And so we can use these different types of conversion factors to make conversions. So here are the steps. I'm going to show you the steps, and then we'll work through some examples so you can see how the steps work. If this is not something you are super familiar with, this is something that A, you need to practice until you know it, and B, if you do it in this step order, it really becomes easier. Even if your math skills are not super amazing, you can do this if you follow the steps. So step 1, place your given value over 1. So you're always going to be given something. You put it over 1. Step 2, you're going to create a second fraction, and we're going to put the units in the correct places, and I'll explain what I mean by that. Step 3, then we're going to use the conversion factor to put the right numbers in place. In step 4, we're going to multiply top by and divide by numbers on the bottom. Okay. So for example, let's look at this example. How many centimeters are in 73 inches? So somebody is 6'1", 73 inches tall. How many centimeters are there? So you take your given, 73 inches, put it over 1. Then we're going to put our units in the right place. So by that I mean this unit that's here is going to go down here because it's going to cancel each other out. So think about it. If I have a fraction of, I had a 3 on top and a 3 down here, I can cancel them out because 3 over 3 is 1. Well, inches over inches is 1. They cancel each other out. So in the same way, if we look at centimeters, it needs to go on top because that's the unit I'm converting to. So the unit you're converting to goes on top. And the unit you come from goes on bottom. So inches is going to go down here to cancel out and go away. And I'm going to be left with centimeters. Then I look at my conversion factor to get the numbers in the right place. So looking at my conversion factor, that's this thing right here. What number's in front of inches? 1. So I come down here, and the number I'm going to put in front of inches is 1. The number in front of centimeters is 2.54, so I'm going to come down here, and in front of centimeters, I'm going to put 2.54. And then I'm going to multiply by numbers on top and divide if they're on the bottom. So 73 times 2.54 is 185.42. Okay. I did not do this in correct sig figs for some reason, but correct sig figs would only be 2 because this has 2 significant figures. So my answer would be 190 centimeters. Okay, because that 5 I would have rounded up. Okay, so 190 centimeters. So let's look through an example. How many miles are in a 10-kilometer race? 1 mile is 1.61 kilometers. You may already know this just off the top of your head, but this is to practice the method. Okay, right now, even if you know these off the top of your head, or you can do them some other way, practice the method of putting the given over 1, putting the units in the right place, then the numbers, and getting the right answer. It's just critical that we do that. Okay, so 10 kilometers over 1. Put your given over 1. That's what you need to do first. Second, put your units in the right place. So the unit that's up here is going to go down here. Kilometers and then kilometers, so that kilometers will cancel each other out. And I'll be left with miles. Miles will be left on top. Then go to your conversion factor. What number's in front of miles? 1. Number in front of kilometers is 1.61. So 1.61 goes in front of kilometers here. 1 goes in front of miles here, because that's where the numbers are in the conversion factor. This is on bottom, so I'm going to divide by it. 10 divided by 1.61, going to 2 significant figures, is 6.2. Right. By the way, for me, when I teach this, I do, like when I teach in significant figures, they have to do it exactly. But after that, so like when I get into here into conversions, they just have to get within one significant figure. Technically, this answer, unless I'm saying it's exactly a 10-kilometer race, which probably I could say it that way, then I would say it's exactly 10, then it have infinite sig figs. Otherwise, I would say this only has 1, and so, I'm just trying to go from there. All right, so I'm within 1 sig fig. All right, how many fluid ounces are in a 2-liter bottle of Coke? And I'm assuming exactly 2 liters in this question. So infinite sig figs here. So 2 liters over 1. So what unit needs to go on bottom to match that? So liters is going to go down here to match. So the other unit goes on top, fluid ounces. Okay, just like that. Then we match up numbers. Fluid ounces goes with 33.81. Liters goes with 1. It's on top, so I'm going to multiply. 67.62. Sometimes we need to do conversions that take more than one step. You could do them as separate questions, but or separate conversions, that just takes too long. How much does one page in a book weigh in grams if all 460 pages weigh 18.23 ounces? Okay, and then I give you a conversion there for grams to ounces. So you may be like, well, how do I even do this? Okay, so we start with our pages, and then we're going to convert that to ounces, and then we're going to convert our ounces to grams. So I can figure out how much pages per ounce. I'll show you the math for that. And then we could also do, we can do it 2 separate things, but we're going to do it as one thing. So we want to know how much one page weighs. So I'm going to put 1 page over 1. And now I need a conversion factor for pages to ounces. Well, I happen to know that 460 pages is equal to 18.23 ounces. So I can put page here, ounces here. Then I can say page, the number with pages is 460. And the number with ounces is 18.23. And then I can go from ounces, do them again to cancel them out, and go to grams. So it's like pages to ounces, ounces to grams. See that pattern? Pages to ounces, ounces to grams. That's the pattern you follow. Okay? Then put in the numbers. And then if the number is on top, we're going to multiply. So 1 times 18.23 times 28.35 divided by 460. And 1 page in that book will weigh 1.124 grams. Okay? And so we can kind of see that. All right, so let's look at some practice problems. All right, so first one. How many feet can a snail travel in an hour? Now, I'm telling you that in an hour, that snail can go 0.029 miles. So we need to go from hours to feet somehow, but I don't have a direct conversion. But if you look at the 2 conversion factors I have given you, they both have mile in them. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go hour to mile, and then mile to feet. We have to do this in multiple steps. So take your 1 hour, put it over 1, get your units in the right place. So hour over 1, and then you're going to go hours to miles, miles to feet. Okay? And then you plug in your numbers from the conversion factors, and you should get something that looks like this. That snail can travel 150 feet in an hour. Next practice. The world record high jump is 2.45 meters. How high is that in feet? Okay. So I've given you this as the given. So 2.45 meters over 1. Then get your units in place. We're going to go from meters to feet. So meters is going to go on bottom, feet's going to go on top. You should get something that looks like this. Alright, so that is conversion. So there's a lot more practice in your book. There's also in your, once again, in free resources, I have another handout on conversions that you can download there for additional practice. It goes through it pretty step by step, and I can get a key for that as well. And so practice conversions before you move into moles, because you need to be able to do any conversion problem in that workbook before you move on. So make sure you know how to do those. If you have questions, ask in the Facebook group, email me, come to office hours, message me, Facebook Messenger, whatever you need to do to get help. And because you really got to get this down before we move on into mole conversions.